Welcome, and it's your host, Imi Asker, and we're back with the Stani Army verdict. So today we're going to look at the Pakistan versus South Africa series. Um, what we're going to do today, though, is going to be a bit different. We're going to look at the second test. We're going to preview it, and then we're going to look at the T20 squad and just analyze how things were. First of all, let me introduce my guests. First of all, I've got Dr. Akbar. How you doing?
Sound like everyone? Yeah, all good here. Thanks very much. Good to see you guys.
Hamza,
Salam everyone.
and I've got Umar with me. Hello, Umar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. So we won the first test. At one stage, it looked a bit precarious, so everyone was losing a bit of hope, and then all of a sudden, we pick up a couple of quick wickets overnight, and then in the morning we sort of finished the game off quite comprehensive. It was a comprehensive win in the end. So we've got the second test coming up. Doctor, first of you, any changes that you might make?
I mean, I think it depends on the conditions, doesn't it? Obviously, I know there's a bit of scrutiny on the openers, Abid and less so Imran, but obviously on Abid. And then, of course, there was a press conference from Misbah today. He was talking about it being, at the moment, it looks like a little bit of green on the pitch. He wants a similar track to Karachi that obviously turns a bit earlier than you'd expect. So I think if we get a similar track, I would go with this pretty much the same team. If we get something that's a bit greener, then yeah, I guess you drop a spinner and play, I guess, Darvish in those conditions as opposed to Haris Ralph. So it depends on conditions. Depends what happens when we pitch up on Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, I guess, and see what the pitch is doing.
Mm-hmm. Hamza, you?
Yeah, I think people talk about the differences between the pitches in Pakistan. I think they're very subtle, and you generally always go in with two spinners unless you've got sort of three really good seamers, sort of like Shoaib, Rana Naveed in his pomp, and Mohammed Sami 2001, something like that. You'd always go with two spinners. So in Pakistan, always uber cautious, so they ain't going to change a thing.
Yeah. Umar, I think Doctor just picked up on it. Darvish Khan. So, I mean, would you drop him if it's seeming conditions, one, or would you say after the way Hassan didn't have the greatest games, or is it too early to just say, you know what, we're going Darvish straight away?
I was thinking about this because I was thinking Hassan didn't have the best game, but then he's gotta get used to international cricket again. He's been out for like 2.5 years. So I was thinking more change at the top, and I was umming and ahhing whether to drop Arbid or play Arbid. I think I'd drop Arbid, bring in Saud, and play Azhar as an opener with Imran.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on the conditions on the morning, how it's looking, like Hamza said, it's not going to be massively different. Go with the extra seamer.
But you know, I read on Quick Info that if you look at the last 5 years at Rawalpindi, the spinners average about 35, something like that. Have taken about 80 wickets. Seamers have taken hundreds of wickets and average about 21, 22. We did quite well playing. I think we played an extra seamer there last year against Sri Lanka as well. So I'm not saying you've definitely got to play an extra seamer. If there probably was one track in Pakistan where you would play an extra seamer, it might be Bindi. But then again, there's still 3 days till the game, and it sounds like the sun's going to bake down on it, and it's probably going to turn into a similar track to Karachi. But if you look at, you shouldn't just go on stats, obviously. But if you look at the stats, it might be the one ground where you may be playing extra seamer.
Yeah, because I mean, like, normally Bindi's the one where the seamers have been more effective. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's where we played Bangladesh, or do we play them in Karachi?
One of the I can't remember. One of the Sri Lanka tests or Bangladesh tests was definitely at Bindi.
Yeah. And it was much more seamer friendly, anyhow. So, but I don't think I'm going to ask Hamza this. Do you think we should go with a seamer friendly track? Because isn't that what South Africa want? They would prefer us to go on to a seamer friendly track.
If we were a side full of confidence that knew exactly our place in the world and our best 11, all that kind of stuff, then yeah, I'd be totally up for telling the groundsman, prepare a slightly quick pitch. Let's catch them on the hop, but not right now. So I'd go with something exactly the same. Let's try a sort of carbon copy of what happened in the first test.
Yeah, Hamza's right. I think we don't, with our batting frailties, we don't want it hooping around with Rabada opening the bowling with a new ball. I think it's hard. It's hard enough with less friendlier conditions.
It's like Doctor. It's like going back into their conditions in
Yeah.
South Africa. Going. I mean, it won't be as seemingly. It won't be as bad. What we're seeming, but it becomes a bit more what they're accustomed to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see South Africa or New Zealand going out of their way to prepare tracks for us that are going to help us. So, you've got to think about got to be a little bit kind of one-eyed sometimes and think, well, how, what do you always try and do what the opposition don't want you to do? What does South Africa not want us to do? They don't want us to prepare a dry track that spins early on because, quite frankly, they're not very good at playing spin. So, I like I say, historically, Spindy might seem a bit more or swing a bit more, but if we can doctor the pitch slightly to adjust to what our team is like, then absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm. Billy says, I did mention a few weeks ago, open with Hassan and Shaheen. Mind you, Hassan didn't have the best game, but it's worth. It was definitely. I think it was a big shout to go for. Hassan, I mean, he didn't have the greatest game, but a bit harsh to consider dropping him straight away. I think you've got to let him settle in now. Have a few games and then we see where we are. Anyone that wants to elaborate on Hassan?
Yeah, stick with Hassan. There's no one else crying out to be picked anyway. That's the other thing. If there was someone who's just piling on wickets and just looks like $1 million, you'd think, right, I'm sorry, I know it's rough on you, Hassan, but that was a pretty poor return. And I think a lot of that's nerves as well. I don't think that's match fitness. He bowled a lot of overs in the Ghazi Azam Trophy in the 4-5. He played the second half of the Ghazi Azam Trophy basically and played about sort of 6 games, I think. So he's got lots of match fitness behind him. So that was basically nerves. So I can't see Ralph bowling better. I could imagine Ralph being quite similar, a little bit wayward. Maybe he'd be a bit quicker. He surprise you with the odd bouncer, but I don't think Ralph will necessarily bowl better. And then who's the other option? Tabish. That's quite a safety first option, I think. I can't imagine him tearing through anyone. But I don't know. I just think I can imagine us. I think it makes sense just sticking with the same team.
There was that thing that I think, Doctor, you watched a lot of the test, early mornings, going into the early afternoons here. But it's like one thing that Hassan was trying to, I picked up anyhow. I think he was looking for the magic ball a lot. So he's trying to really pitch it up here, trying to look for the swing. It wasn't coming, and then a lot of them were half volleys, and the batsmen, they were picking them up quite easily. So I think the second innings, I think it improved. As you'd
expect with someone who's coming back from injury. Yeah, he did. He did definitely improve in the second innings. He did get it to reverse a little bit, but like you say, maybe he was going for a little bit of kind of a magic ball. And obviously, first up with the new ball in the first innings, he wasn't particularly good. But look, how good is this? We're sitting here and Pakistan have won a game, and we're not saying he needs to go, he needs to go, he needs to go. Let's make 5 changes because we're 1-0 down. It's so nice just to think, actually, you know what? We're 1-0 up, and we don't need to necessarily change too much of kind of a winning team. That's good news.
Yeah, almost. It is quite good news, isn't it? But normally we'll be like, this person needs to go, that person needs to go, as Doctor just said. And right now we're sitting here trying to enforce a change, trying to make a conversation. So that's just probably the best thing out there. We've actually got a team out there that can actually go for the next test.
It's like I think Duck said before. We always look at players that aren't in the team and they think, oh, he's better than the ones we've already got. And Hawk said it before. We've only got 11 players, but we want to go out with 14.
Yeah.
So,
Hamza, Hulkistan said 27 for 4 to the rescue. We don't want that again, yeah. But just to pick up on that, you wasn't too impressed with Abid. How long do you give him?
I wouldn't have played him in the first test. So
you don't give him any time.
No, I get if people want to give him one more test, but I wouldn't. I just Azar's got a decent record opening. I know, they say if it's not broke, don't change it, whatever. He's doing all right at 3. Got sort of a few runs behind him now, so it might be tempting just to stick with him. But I think it might be worth just asking just for one test. Say, look, just move up and let's have Saud bat at 3, because he's just coming. He's not looking like he can make runs. That's the securely. Obviously, it's a bit early for him, but can't really judge him negatively or positively. But I would make that change. I don't think they will, but I would make that change. I'd open with Azar and have Saud at 3.
Yeah, so that's that. Anything on South Africa? I think Kenda Bavuma.
Shamsi, I think Shamsi will come into their team if they can. If it is a similar, if it is a similar track to Karachi, yeah, I think Shamsi will probably play instead of one of their seamers, probably Ngidu. If it is a seaming track, then they'll probably go with Shamsi instead of Linda, but still play 3 seamers. So yeah, I don't. Looking at their squad, I don't see a ready-made player that's going to come in after one game and make a huge difference. I'll let Hamza pick.
Hamza's smiling.
The next 10 minutes are all you. We're gonna mute our mics, and the floor is yours.
What's happened?
Just have a read. Hawkstar say, Hamza, what do you think of Fahim as an all-rounder? Here we go.
No. Listen, I'm not 100% against him playing. I've always said it's not like a illogical decision. So that's the historically, when you're a Pakistan fan, you look at a starting 11, you're like, how are those 2 or 3 guys in there? They're utter trash. So I wouldn't say that about Fahim. He's good. I just don't think we need an all-rounder. So, and it basically it played out as I thought it would. That he's not going to bowl that many overs, and it'll just basically be about how much he can contribute with the bat, and he's done really well. So let's just look at this for a second. So Grant Flower was the batting coach for about 4 years, basically for most of Fahim's career, and Fahim's batting has been trash. Yunus comes in, and Fahim suddenly starts batting well. If Yunus was a Justin Langer, we'd be raving about it. Fahim, Yunus has done something. Now we all take the mick personally out of Yunus and his notepad, but has he finally got some diagrams of Fahim's technique, and he's like, get that bat a bit closer to the pad, and he suddenly had a word with Fahim, and he's tightened up his technique. Do you think this is Yunus is doing? Because he's batting better. I'll say it myself. Fahim's batting way better than he was 6 months ago. His batting was rubbish 6 months ago. He just looks more secure now.
I think the reason for that is because they don't expect him to be Ben Stokes because of that one. We always go back to that one innings in the warm-up game, and they always send him in the T20s when there's 5 overs to go, expecting him to score 80 or 30. I think in a Test match where he can go in, he can just play proper shots, play proper cricket, and obviously it's working. Instead of him going out being a freebie, just swinging from the first ball. And clearly, it's not his game, is it? He can score quick runs like he showed in the last Test match. He scored a strike rate about 75, which is brilliant in a Test match. But in the T20s, where they're expecting him to score at 200, maybe that isn't his game.
Has anyone seen any interviews with him to say, either in New Zealand or after this first game or anything like that, where he's mentioned what's changed? Because he looks a lot more compact to me, like Hamza, you kind of alluded to. And just his technique looks like, sometimes with batsmen, you feel like it's a mindset thing. For him, actually, he looks so much better than I've seen him before. Has anyone seen anything? Has he said anything? Or
No,
didn't you say that he did some work with Yusuf in the NCA?
He did. He did at the NCA. So he did work with Yusuf. So he's probably triggered something, but I doubt it. A week's work with Yusuf will transform you that much. Maybe it's because we're judging him on the basis of T20 or one-day cricket, and this is maybe his right format where he doesn't have to attack. He can just bat at his pace the way he wants to bat. Because when he's batting the last 5 overs of T20, he can't bat like this, can he? He has to hit out. He's expected to hit 6s. So it's I don't know, but he's done well. The other person we could have brought in, he's not in the squad though, is one of Hamza's favourites, Hussein Talib, because I think he's a better batsman than Fahim. and he can give you the third seamer spot as well, a bit of control here and there, and the other ball around him. But he's not in the squad. Is there any other options?
Do they? I'm sure Hamza does because I know Hamza's a big fan. But do the selectors know what Hussein Dillat's better as? Because he seems to flip from T20 to Test squad to T20 again, and he never gets a game, poor guy. But he just keeps getting kind of changed from squad to squad. So he was obviously he's been in the T20 squad before. We played against South Africa when we went there a couple of years ago, nearly now. Then he was in the. He actually ended up in the Test squad for for New Zealand. And now, of course, he's in the T20 squad that's just been announced for, when this finishes. Do they know? Hamza, how would you play him? You're a big fan.
I'd play him in all three formats. In the South Africa. Yeah, I love him. I'm not going to lie. I love him. I love him.
And captain, opening bowler, opening batsman.
Listen, I'll tell you, three guys, when I saw them batting recently, straight away I was like, they are class. It's Barber, Harris Sohail, and Hussein Tulloh. As soon as I saw their sort of cover drives and stuff, I was like, these guys are pure class. So Hussein, like as Akbar said, he came into the South Africa tour a few years ago. He was basically our best batsman, and I remember and we lost the series 2-1 or something. I think the 2020s, and I remember on Twitter people were criticizing him for not finishing the match. He'd make a 50, and with 20 to win, he'd get out or something. People would be like, "Oh, his 50 off of 40 balls cost us the match." I was like, have you people lost your mind? He's the only one who made runs. Anyway, after that South Africa series where he was our best batsman in the T20s, he got dropped, and he sort of went back to domestic, and he's just focused on his batting, and he's piled on runs in all three formats. So I'd have him in all three squads. I mean, you can debate whether you'd start him in all three squads. I would definitely start him in ODIs and 2020s. You bat him at sort of 4. I think in tests, it's a good contest between him, Saud, and Cameron Gullam. But yeah, I'd have him in all three squads. I was shocked that he wasn't in the New Zealand Test squad. It really wound me up. That why are you bringing? He scored a 250. His last first class match, he got a 250, and they brought him into the New Zealand squad, and they didn't play him.
Here we are. The thing is about him, though, it's like you see Islamabad United. I mean, they retain him every year.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they see a massive potential there.
Yeah, and he's made the
South Punjab cricketer who's going to really make it.
Yeah, and before Shan got back, he was the Southern Punjab captain. So obviously, even in domestic, they kind of rate him a little bit.
Let's see. Obviously, he's not in the squad, so there's that. So I think we're all sort of saying, unchained team. If at worst you move Azhar up and play Sodin for Abid. So that's that, and we can't really see. I mean, the other one for South Africa is the number 6, Bavuma. I don't know what he gives them. I really don't. He looks good, and then the end results never great. It will look good for a few overs, maybe for half an hour, and he always tends to give his wicket away after that. But then, you know what? I don't really know this squad well enough yet to like say if they've got another batsman there who can actually come in. But that's probably the only change that I can see that. Well, apart from like as you said, like dropping one of the seamers.
It'd be interesting to see who they dropped for Shamsi, because all of the seamers bowled quite well.
Yeah, but Elgar might be injured. I know he hasn't got a break, but he did get a hit to the hand on the start of the second innings.
Say again, Umar, sorry.
Elgar.
Mm.
So obviously we know he hasn't got a break after the X-ray, but to see if he has if his hand has healed, so they might have to change at the top of the order. Also, on Bavuma, now he's going to go on and score 180 not out.
Hopefully not.
I think
everyone will come back to me on this.
I think he will come up the order. I think number 5 is too high for the Cock.
I feel like the Cock should either open or be down at 7 or 6, rather than play as a 5. It doesn't quite work for them.
Especially when he's coming in 100 for 3 or 100 for 4, because it can go either way for them.
Yeah. So that's that. So that's the test squad. I mean, everyone we sort of seem to agree with it. Again, it's going to be an interesting one with the pitch and everything else here because, as we said earlier, Brindley is normally a bit more seaming friendly, a bit more quicker than the other Pakistani pitches, but depends on how it plays. And I'm pretty sure the management would have had a word with the groundsman and said, "Well, this is what we want." So let's see. Let's see. Uh, any predictions on the test? And remember, if anyone says we're going to lose, I'm taking you straight off the stream.
I was gonna say Pakistan win by innings and 300 runs.
I'll take you. I owe you a burger and chips. Anyone else?
Well, as the resident pessimist from time to time, I do remember quite a few series that we've gone 1-0 up, especially against, well, mate, once only one against South Africa, where we go 1-0 up and we just let it slip slightly. But to be fair, a lot of those series have been away from home rather than at home. I think at home in our conditions against this South Africa team, I think we'll win, unless something stupid happens, like, where it is a green pitch, we get put in on the first morning, we get rolled over for 120, which is not, let's be honest, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, is it? So unless something stupid or ridiculous happens, I would make us favourites to win this game and win the series. One thing I probably would say isn't going to happen unless there's weather about, which there probably won't be, it's probably not going to be a draw. I don't think either batting lineup is strong enough or kind of good enough to last to bat, to 450, 500 and it be a drawn game. So you'll get a result and inshallah it's in Pakistan's favour.
Hopefully, Bob.
Almost after a T20 score, we're going to talk about that in 2 minutes. Sorry, Umar, you were saying something.
I was just going to say, hopefully Babar can get some runs and obviously he hasn't batted properly for how many months. So hopefully he can, get some time in the middle and get a good 100 or something, hopefully.
I sort of miss his hundreds right now.
Well, it was looking good, wasn't it, in that second innings until he got out to Maharaj again.
Yeah. Maharaj got injured knee again.
Yeah, Hamza, any predictions?
Yeah, well, I said at the start of the day one, I was predicting 1-0 to us. But yeah, Akbar's right. I don't think either batting's that strong. I can't see anyone piling on 400s. So if you're going to think of a win, I'd probably still back us over South Africa. So it'd be nice if we can do a 2-0 at home.
Okay, so that's that. We've looked at.
What do you reckon? Prediction from you? Go on.
I think we'll probably. I'm hosting. I think we're going to win. I think it'll be South Africa probably put up a bigger fight this time than they did the other day as well. But I think we'll have too much for them. It's one of them with our spinners. I think our spinners are probably strong enough here to win us games. And even if it's a more seaming track, it will spin late on, say towards the end of day 3, 4, and 5. There'll be enough spin out there for our bowlers to do. And I think Noman and Yasser probably got to their heads anyhow because they didn't play particularly well. So let's see. But I'll go for a win.
Just something probably really insignificant. The Karachi outfield was really lush and quick, wasn't it? Was it just me? Did anybody else notice?
That's good. That's probably the best outfield in Pakistan.
Because considering when we played against New Zealand in the second test, their outfield was really slow, like really, really slow, and like we're obviously with our outfields, we're not somewhat like rough and the patches, but that I thought I was really impressed. As soon as it beat the infield, the ball was running away to the boundary. I think that's why obviously there was a lot of boundary scored as well. But I think that was another good job by the groundsman.
Interestingly, just looking at the comments that are coming in, I think most people seem to be Abid out rather than Abid in the comments. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm just like, he averages 40. Just give him at least this test. That's where I am at the moment. But if he went out, I couldn't actually say that. I couldn't actually stand there and say, it's injustice.
I think it's getting to the point where if he was to be dropped, and obviously I've mentioned a few times I'm a fan, but if he was to be dropped, you couldn't sit there and say, God, where has that come from? He's been brilliant. It's a judgment call, and yeah, I think some will go with it and some will go against him. But yeah.
So Omar asks, we're going to move on from the test. What do you think of the T20 squad that's been announced? So we're going to move on to the T20s now. First of all, what we'll do is we'll have a look at the T20 squad, and it's Bobber, Haider Ali, Hushdin Shah, Hussein Talat. I mean, one person smiling at least. Danish Aziz, Asif Ali, Iftikhar, Mohammad Nawaz, Zafar Gohar, Fahim Ashraf, Amir Yamin, Ahmad Bhatt, Mohammad Rizwan, Safraz Ahmed, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Rauf, Mohammad Hasnain, Hassan Ali, Usman Qadir, and Zahid Mahmood. So that's the T20 squad announced. First reactions, Doctor. What do you think?
I like it. I really like it. I think there's a good mix of players that we know have done all right for us, and players that have performed well in the kind of the domestic T20 stuff are going to come in like Zahid. I think it's a pretty strong squad. Obviously, we're missing probably you would say probably our most informed batsman with Hafiz. I'm sure we're going to talk about him in a minute. But there's plenty of players in there. I mean, they've got enough for concussion subs and COVID issues and to rest and rotate. Let's not forget that the big thing here with this series is we're playing very much a second or third string South Africa team. So we've just got to be careful that either way, if we win anyway, that we don't get too carried away. But as generally as you know, I don't think there are too many. The only one I could think of was Sahib Maksud, who I quite like, who just from aesthetically and from a stats point of view as well, I think he's done quite well. I quite like him in the squad of 20, but again, not a big thing there.
Hamza, the squad when it was announced, these are the sort of players that were included. So there was Danish Aziz, Asif Ali, Amir Yamin, Ahmad Bhatt, Mohammad Nawaz, Zafar Gohar, Hassan Ali, and we've got some of the stats there for these guys. Any sort of players there that shouldn't be there?
Yeah, there's no awful selections. There's no one where you just, again, sort of, it's nice and refreshing not having players where you look at the squad and you're like, how the hell did that guy get in? That doesn't even make any sense. They can all be justified in some ways. The changes I'd make, I wouldn't have picked Ifti, I wouldn't have picked Asif, I wouldn't have picked Sarfaraz. I don't know what Sarfaraz is doing hanging on. He should be back in domestic making runs, putting pressure on Rizwan. But I think I've said this a few times now, I think he likes being in and around the squad. He likes using his sort of senior tag and sort of going on all these tours. Whereas I think if he had ambition to get back into the actual 11, you'd basically go back into domestic and make loads of runs. And he's not doing that. So how is he putting pressure on Riz by just hanging around? So there's no match fitness there. So I would have picked Sarfaraz. I would have picked Rahel instead of him. I would have picked Mohamed Harris. I would have played him as Mohamed Harris instead of Ifti, and I probably would have picked Maksud for Asif. Maksud's he's not aesthetically pleasing. He's got an odd sort of stance and stuff, but we've just seen Fawad blow people out of the sky with his technique, and Shoaib's isn't that bad. So I think his technique's not that great for the longer forms. But I was surprised Shoaib Maksud didn't get in. But now that they've picked Danish Aziz again, I hope they actually give him all 3 matches, because I don't like them picking players and just hanging them around. If you're going to have him, play them. So I hope Danish gets all 3 matches. If I was the selector, I would have given Riz the first match, Harris the second match with the gloves, and Rahel the third match, and batted all of them at 3, so that you guarantee that they get some time in the middle and sort of just to show something. Bowlers wise, it's a bit hard to say who else they could have picked, because I don't think we're blessed with too many. But I think it'd be nice to give Shaheen a rest. Frankly, I think he's being a bit overbowled.
Yeah, Omar, you see the squad and everything, yeah, and I think with the South Africa team, you know, you could say it's their B team. Some would even call it their C team. Was there a thing where we could have actually, say, picked a few younger players and say maybe rested a few more of the more experienced?
Well, I think they have. I think they have picked a few, obviously, players that haven't played. But one thing with us is it wasn't too long ago that we had it. I know it was. I think it was. Yes, it was a 50-over game where we just lost to Zimbabwe. So whether it's a B team or a C team or a D team, I think we just need to be what's in front of us and then take it from there. I know probably all get overexcited and say X, Y, Z like we normally do, but I think you just need to be what's in front of us, pick the right players. Like Hamza said, to be honest, I don't want to see Asif Ali and Ifti. I'd rather see Danish Aziz at 6, hopefully, or Sentel at 4. Kind of thinking beyond this tour and thinking ahead to the World T20. Is it in India this year? Or was it next year?
And they're all in India.
Playing Hussein Talat. Playing Hussein Talat, he does gives you an option with the ball, and with the slow wickets there, he can be a good option with the ball and the bat. So it's in India, it's either spinners or somebody with extreme pace. These WWs don't really do well, but I think Hussein Talat would be a good option with the ball as well.
So the thing about Asif Ali that obviously we've got the stats up there, and obviously if you just look at stats, and Asif Ali's stats aren't too bad. I mean, his strike rate's pretty good, and his average, and all that kind of stuff. I think that the problem that maybe you guys have that I have with Asif is that and obviously I know in his personal life he's had such a difficult time. So that notwithstanding, I feel like when he's been given the chance to play, I can't remember too many times where he really sees that chance, and it's difficult. You know, we label these players as finishers. Finishing is the hardest thing to do in a T20 game. Anyone can play at the top. Everyone wants to play top 3. You've got, nice, shiny, hard new ball. You've got the field in. It is so difficult coming in at 6, 7 and finishing a T20 game. So it's not easy, but I just don't think he's done it in the chances he's been given, which is why I would rather go with someone else as well. I'm not convinced with Asif Ali being in that team.
Just following up what you said there, Doc, in the national T20, that's where Danish Aziz came in and he won quite a few. I think it was 2 or 3 games I watched at least. There was probably more where he came in and it was a really tough situation at the end and he did finish games. So I think he should get all 3 games, Danish Aziz, and see how he does. Whether that's at 5, 6 or wherever he's going to bat. I think we need to give him all 3 games at least.
Let's quickly discuss Mohammad Hafiz. It's from what we understand, now we could be wrong because what the PCB are saying might be wrong, but the team manager, the media manager, sorry, he stopped Wasim Khan halfway through the press conference, and he sort of said, like, Wasim, if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly say something. And he said that, there was COVID protocols, so there was South Africa and Pakistan have signed an agreement on how the biosecure bubble is going to be. And one of the agreements was that all the players will go in the biosecure bubble by the 3rd of February. The only people that will not be there are the ones who are going to be playing the second test, but they will join the biosecure bubble straight after the second test, and they're not allowed out. So basically, they move from a cricket ground to another cricket ground, and they do not see anyone. So that's from what we understand. But what actually happened is, like, as soon as the squad was announced, Hafiz has actually apparently said to them that he can't come there until the 7th, which is 4 days before the T20 first game. And hence they.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say he can't come there or he won't come there.
Well, it's let's just say he can't come there yet without being harsh. So that's that. And then they've got a situation where he said he can't make it, so he has not come, and so they've not gone with it. And then he's put out a tweet, which using religion into it is probably not the way for me anyhow. You don't use injustice. But I was just thinking about it today. Yeah, that I know I've got my own business, but some of you, I know all of you work for someone. Imagine if, like, you turned around to your boss and said, "Well, boss," he said to you, "You're on a 9 to 6 tomorrow," and you said, "I can't come 9 to 6 because that doesn't suit me. So I'm going to do 11 to 6." I don't think they're going to be too happy, are they, Doc?
My colleagues might disagree. They might be happy to see less of me, but I doubt it. No, I take the point. Yeah, I'm annoyed about this. I'm annoyed because it's very simple. We're in COVID times. Just be here on the 3rd if you want to play. If you're not going to be on the 3rd, you can't play. Simple. It's not difficult. He's not a kid. He's been around. He knows the score. I would be. I hope if somebody does perform in his place, which of course let's hope that they do, then every time you don't play for your country, there's a chance, or you choose not to play for your country, there's a chance someone else is going to take your spot. And to be honest, I think it would serve him right if someone did take his spot. I don't think you can just waltz back into the team when you like. And with respect, this is not a health problem. This is not the birth of a child. This is not something else. This is let's be honest, it's a T10 league in UAE. So I'm sorry, but if I'm head of the PCB or making the decision, that does not outweigh playing a T20 international for Pakistan. So yeah, I'm annoyed with Hafiz, and it's a shame because he's one of our better players. But it doesn't set a great example to anyone coming through the system, does it? If he just waltzes back into the team.
Yeah. Before I go to Hamza, I'm going to quickly make one quick point, and then we'll go to Umar as well. When we announced the test squad, Haris Rauf was at the Big Bash, earning good money. He's going to be earning good money. And he got the phone call from Mohammed Wasim saying that, I want to pick you for the test team. You're willing to come back. He dropped the contract, and he's come for the national team. And he probably won't play a single game at the 2 tests. So he's lost out on decent money. So that's hardest role. Asif Ali is at the T10 league, and he's coming back tomorrow. So he could join the bubble by the 3rd. Why have we got this senior culture? Why do our players think they're above every rule? And it's not the first one that Hafiz is breaking, Hamza.
Yeah, I did it in New Zealand.
He done that COVID test when he failed it, and he done his own private one. And then when he was here in England,
he tweeted it.
When we were in England, didn't he play golf and like?
You tweeted a picture.
Old lady. So why? Do you understand this culture that we've got?
Yeah, it's an entitlement culture. It's elitist. It's classist. It's all of it. He's 40 years old. He should be thinking, I could play at the next World Cup. That'll be my last World Cup. I'll go out with a bang. Blah blah blah. I'll deserve to be in it. Unlike some people who want to play at a World Cup and always talk about I want to be at the next World Cup, and they've been useless for 10 years. So yeah, and I've been against Hafiz for the last 2-3 years since he lost his bowling action. I've just said we should get rid of him, but his form has been so good over the last year that he along with Barber in the 2020s, his name's the first one down. So it's really disappointing that just as he suddenly starts to make runs, and you're like, oh, this guy looks good. He does something as stupid as this, and you're prioritizing T10. I mean, I could understand if Haris Rauf was peed off at that. He's a kid came out of nowhere in a speed gun tournament. So he's someone who had zero prospects in life. Not zero, but do you know what I mean? Like plucked out of nowhere. And now 2-3 years later, he's in a big bash. He must be peed off that he got called into the test squad, but he's actually happy about it. Whereas Hafiz, he's been around for 15 years, got lots of, he's doing well now, let's be fair. And he's the one saying, no, I want to play a little T10 hit and giggle rather than my country, and I'll come back when I want. And then he tweets about it as if he's had some injustice done to him. What's that about?
I don't know. Umar, what is it about?
What? Give me a second.
Go on.
No, what makes it worse is, wasn't it like 2 weeks ago he was ranting and raving at the PCB saying we just fast track players in and this and that, and their attitudes aren't right. And like you said, what kind of example is he setting to them, where he can just waltz in and out whenever he likes, do whatever he likes, say whatever he likes by the sounds of it. And like Doc said, if he gets if somebody performs and he gets dropped, he's got only himself to blame.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm amazed how, and seeing the social media reaction. I actually tweeted out yesterday. Yeah, that boy. I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has looked after you guys. Yeah, because you guys have got absolutely no clue on what COVID protocols are. 12 months down the line, they've learned nothing. They still think it's basically you can do whatever you want, as you want. It's amazing. And all the journalists like sort of like, just backing the whole situation.
Did you see? I don't know if anybody saw afterwards. I think it was Sachi tweeted that Hafiz's media manager said that he's heartbroken, and if he was picked, he would have flew back on the third. But why didn't you just agree? If it's true, why didn't you just agree to do that in the first place instead of releasing?
In the first place, or you wouldn't you just? I mean, I'm pretty sure he has Mohammed Wasim's number, or he has someone in the board's number, or even Misbah's number. I mean, maybe Barber's. He's got to have someone's number and just ring him up and say, you know what, I've changed my mind. I want to come back.
But you know what? Just to play devil's advocate for a second, and I'm very much, Team PCB versus Team Hafiz and all that stuff. But it wouldn't be the first time that the PCB has communicated really badly with a player, would it? Let's be honest. And sometimes their communication isn't great. But I just think in a setting like this, it's very simple. There was probably one date he had to be there on. There was probably a date that he had to tell them that he's going to be there for, and he hasn't stuck to it. So that's on him, I'm afraid, from the outside.
I think this has been spoken about for quite a few weeks.
Trying to troll me.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
That's always right.
Hold on. Wouldn't you rate Hafiz over most of our players at the moment?
Yeah, but actually, probably just behind Barber. Yeah.
I mean, yes, I don't know.
In 2020s, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's kind of tongue in cheek from Zaid, but at the moment, Hafiz is one of the informed batsmen in the world, and it feels odd to say that because for so long we've associated Hafiz with a little bit of a figure of fun and with some of the nonsense he comes out with and all that kind of stuff. But you have to say his output is brilliant right now. So I kind of get where Zaid's coming from. Zaid also mentions about Hafiz's bowling action. Hamza, you said. So from my point of view, I feel like Hafiz can still bowl, but I just wouldn't trust him. I feel like he's going to get called straight away.
Yeah, that's what I meant when he lost his action. Since he got called in 2017, he gets called again and again. It's been called about 3 times, so he can't bowl now. And so that's why I was like, get rid of him. But then his batting's been great in T20s, so yeah. But then he's done this.
And he's not as off the ball when his arms fully straight.
Yeah, I think we've given him too much time. There was a question about Rohel Nazir. There we are. What do you think of Rohel Nazir as a wicketkeeper? He's made some good runs in domestic. Bright prospect, isn't he? I mean, Hamza's mentioned him a couple of times. Doc, how much have you seen of him?
I haven't seen a huge amount, but I would agree very much. Sorry, I probably should have mentioned it when I was talking about the squad. I also am not convinced or don't see why Sarfraz is in the squad. I like him. I liked him a lot as a captain, and he's done so much for Pakistan cricket. But I just don't see what the upside is of having Sarfraz with this squad. If there's an injury, he comes in, but I don't think his strike rate or his average or anything like that is really at the level that we need it right now. I think this is, especially when we're playing an understrength South Africa team, I would have kind of had Raheel in there or a young wicketkeeper, because let's be honest, we know Rizwan is going to be first choice in the World Cup. So now's the time to see who else can perform if needed, if there's an injury or what have you.
Yeah, I think Zaid's saying that he can bowl. I think Zaid, what they're trying to say is he can bowl. He's legally right now he can bowl, but the moment he bowls, he's going to be called in international cricket, and then basically he'll get banned again. That's the point that's getting made.
Can I ask a question that someone else asked as well?
I was just gonna say that the AK-47 hasn't been mentioned yet. And the latest comment's got AK-47 at the bottom.
So someone asked about Mohammad Nawaz. So can anyone justify Mohammad Nawaz in this squad, or is he just there because it's a big squad and he's probably behind Usman Qadir as a kind of spinning option and maybe a couple of others?
He's quite good. Nawaz is quite good. He replaces Imad basically. He's a batsman who can bowl off spin. He's another Imad, like a clone.
I think he's just basically Imad in the squad. I don't think he'll get a game.
I was hoping to see Zafar. I hope Zafar plays alongside Usman Qadir. Obviously, I hope Zafar, because we've seen Nawaz. We're not going to learn anything new about Nawaz.
Actually, he hasn't played for Pakistan for a little while, and his batting's better than what I remember. He got loads of runs in the Qadir Azam Trophy, batting at 4 for Northern. So yeah, I don't think he's going to make the cut. I think Zafar, and a couple, 3 or 4 others that aren't going to make the last 15. But I get why they picked him because he's actually in decent form with the bat.
Rayan is saying Rahal needs to work on his keeping a bit, so I wouldn't have him as backup in tests, but definitely oversupplied the T20s. Yeah, I mean in T20s, yeah. I mean in tests you've got to be a very good keeper. So, but it's we've got a couple of bright prospects coming through. So let's see. I mean, Rahel, Haris, a lot of people like AK-47. That's a new name I've given him now.
Why?
What's the 47? His waist.
Oh, Hamza! Whoa!
That was a good one.
Right, let's just look at the team then. For example, so I think we'll probably all agree, yeah, that Babar, Rizwan, and Haddad will be the top 3. So whether they open with Rizwan or Haddad and have the other one at 3, that's a different case. I'm a bit worried with if Rizwan opens because I think it becomes 2-1 paced. And then you've got 4, 5, and 6. Yes, so Doctor, you said.
I was going to say, we say that. I agree to an extent, but you know what? His last international innings was 89 or 59 in a winning chase against New Zealand. So I'm not saying you just go based on that one kind of innings, but he probably did enough in that game to stay in the top order. I've also got my misgivings about Rizwan at the top of the order, but yeah, he'll stay there for a bit now.
I think Hadi is saying. If I know what happened with Mark, apparently family reasons. I think with the bubbles and everything, I think he's asked for some time away, which is understandable. Again, I've got no issues. Any player who wants to be away for a few days or for a series, it's been a tough 12 months, so absolutely no issues with that. But yeah, so we've got a 4, 5, and a 6. Now the 4, 5, 6. I'm just thinking, Khushdil will play.
Sorry, who's your 1, 2, 3? Was it Babar, Haider, and Riz? Rizwan at 3.
Either way.
Yeah, I wouldn't open with Riz. I'd have Babar and Haider opening, and yeah, Riz at 3 is okay. But I wouldn't open.
They'll be a top 3 either way. So who they go for the opener, Haider or Rizwan is up to them. Yeah. But then you got the 4, 5, and 6. So I think Khushdil will take one of the spots. Then you've got, if I remember, Hussein Talat.
Hussein Talat is made for number 4, surely.
Yeah. You don't tell it 4.
Yeah, and then you got 6. Asif Ali? I don't know.
Aziz, man. You got Daniel go. 4, 5, 6 should be Talat, Khushdil, because Talat and Khushdil have got a nice little partnership in Southern Punjab. So they know each other. So 4 and 5, and then 6. You got to give it to give Daniel Aziz all 3 matches at 6, because you might not get much of a bat either.
Hamza, I don't think they will though. I agree. I think it's a good shout. I think out of the kind of the kids, okay. So you've got Danish Aziz, Hussein Talat, and Khushdil. I think 2 of them will play in any one game, and I think then they'll pick an experienced Asif or Iftikhar are probably going for Asif Ali and Iftikhar are probably fighting for one spot.
Yeah. Why are experienced ones more rubbish than the newbies? It used to be the other way around. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? The experienced guys are better.
I agree. And I think this is a good series to have those 3 kids, if you're going to call them that, in a row. But I genuinely think 3 of them are fighting for 2 spots, and then Asif Ali and Iftikhar are fighting for 1 spot. That takes us to 6. And then 7. Who's our 7 then? Seeming all-rounder?
Probably Fahim, innit?
Yeah, Fahim.
Why not Yamin?
Oh, I'd pick Yama Yamin, but they won't. So yeah, probably for him, 7.
See, Amir Yamin, there's an issue with Amir Yamin in the sense that he I think I mentioned the other day on the group. I was just saying that he gives you something with a new ball, but doesn't give you much more after that. I think if I'm not mistaken, in the def he goes at about 9 runs and over, which is quite expensive. But then, do you just if you go that route, then you've got to bowl him out.
But he would open with, if he is better with the new ball, then him and Shaheen coming with the new ball. And then to be fair, someone like Hassan Ali or Haris Rauf tend to be kind of overs 9 to 18 or whatever, don't they? So I don't think there's a problem with that. It's almost like the job that Fahim used to do, where he used to open or kind of still does where he opens.
Yeah, the dock's frozen. Oh, you're back. All right.
Oh, apologies for that.
Yeah, yeah. You're just saying about Fahim opening.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say. So yeah, if like the job that Fahim does, I think you could also have Ahmadi Amin opening with Shaheen, and then Hassan Ali, Haris Rauf, your middle overs, Usman Khadir as your spinner. Not a bad little team there.
Yeah.
I think that's the team that we'll go with. Shaheen.
Yeah.
Let's quickly pick up on Shaheen now. It's definitely a chance here to say to Shaheen, you know what, you're done the squad. You need some rest. I think Misbah was asked about it today. I've just seen snippets of it, and Misbah said that the team physio and everyone else has been looking at it, and they believe he's right. But I think what they're forgetting is he might be right now, but this is long term. You sort of like long term planning. India with Bumrah, Australia with Stark, New Zealand do it. You've got to pick and choose your matches, especially bilateral T20s, and especially if you're playing home to South Africa, B/C. Is that the time to say to Shaheen, you know what, rest up? And he's got plenty of cricket ahead of him. He's got a whole PSL season. We've got tests against Zimbabwe, I think, away. Plenty of cricket is in the dock.
Yeah, there is, and let's not forget the kind of the psychological side of things as well, going from bubble to bubble and not being able to see family quite as much. So, yeah, no, I think the T20, I think they're the 11th, the 13th, and the 14th. So there's 2 in 2 days. So I'm hoping not many will play the kind of double header. Certainly not the bowlers anyway. So yeah, they need to make sure that they kind of wrap him up in cotton wool. He is our diamond, and unless you want him bowling 81, 82 on half a leg, then you need to kind of look after him. Are we going to talk about Azam Khan then or not?
Discuss it. Go on.
Who would have had him in the squad?
No way.
Neither of us.
Why?
There's plenty of people in the comments, maybe. Loads of people on social media. I just don't believe that. I think I spoke about it on the WhatsApp group the other day, and there was a massive argument. Yeah, and I wasn't even talking about Azam. What I was just saying, reasonable fitness. I meant reasonable fitness is someone like Fahim Ashraf, Imad Wasim. They're not the greatest fittest cricketers in the world, but they can cope with what's going around. You don't have to be super fit, but I believe that you can't go that route where you've got cricketers who just don't look like athletes, and to get into shape, into a reasonable shape, doesn't take long. Now, if Azam was serious about getting to the national team, or if Sharjeel was serious, they've had this 12 months. Why haven't they worked on this fitness? I don't get this.
But is his weight not coming down?
Apparently.
And is his output not very good?
Well,
That's good.
Let's look at his scores recently. So these are his last matches since January, start of the year. Yeah? So 37, 29, duck, 16, did not bat, 35, 37,
Hamza, where's he
3,
coming in? He's coming in the late order. He's not, he's never going to average 50, 60 or even 40, 50. I
don't know why he's getting talked of though. So why are people talking about him? I don't understand. What is it?
I think because
he has a brutal hitting ability.
Big ball.
He has a brutal hitting ability, and it suits T20 cricket.
I'm not saying he should be in the first team, but I'm just saying who's our finisher at the moment?
Probably someone like Khushdil or something eventually.
But at the moment, it's probably what, Imad or Iftikhar. I don't know. I just think if you don't want him in the team because his output's not good enough, or you don't think he's got the game for T20 cricket, fine. But I just think this whole fitness thing, we've got to make sure we don't go from one extreme where anything goes in Pakistan cricket to this other extreme where we want kind of it's got to be done on fitness and bleep tests and all that stuff. At the end of the day, in the scorecard and in the scorebook, you have his runs off his balls, not how fast he can run. And I take your point. You need three-dimensional cricketers. He's going to drop the odd chance if he's in the outfield. He might not save twos. So you kind of balance up. But we've just got to make sure it's not just, right, he's not fit enough, he can't play. Let's look at the kind of the bigger picture.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The reason why I would eat someone's shoes before I'd ever pick him is because I know for a fact in 2018 he only got a PSL contract because Moeen Khan was the manager of Quetta. It's as simple as that. He leapfrogged so many under-19 cricketers to get a PSL contract. That's the biggest tournament in Pakistan, and he got a PSL contract off the back of his dad. And that just does not sit well with me.
You know what I'm doing this? You know why I'm doing this? We've got Roy Keane back. We brought the Roy Keane in him out.
If we're not picking players for Pakistan team, if we're not picking players for Pakistan who are there because of some roundabout way or nepotism or something, then you know.
Everyone, who else is there? People talk about Imam. Imam came through the under-15s, under-19s, then the domestic, then got in, and everyone calls him Parchi because his uncle's in Imam. He got in off of the back of performances. He went right through the system. No one can compare him to Azam. Azam came out of nothing.
We know what the system is, but you probably know better than I do what the system is like in Pakistan and who gets kind of ahead from under 14s to under 16s to under 19s to whatever. It is not this kind of equal meritocracy where if you are good enough, you will definitely get through, and if you're not good enough, you won't. This kind of stuff happens all throughout Pakistan cricket. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but if we, let's not just make one example out of Azam Khan when we know that it's, there are other players who have gotten where they are, not necessarily through kind of just talent. I mean, why is Sarfraz in? We mentioned Sarfraz. Why is he in the 2020 squad? It's not just based on, your merit.
Yeah, but Sarfraz isn't in because of his uncle. He's in because he used to be the captain and he's a hanger-on. That's slightly different. But anyway, let's just imagine. Okay, Azam, his uncle, his dad got him in, and he leapfrogged everyone and gets a bloody PSL contract. It's like your nephew getting a schoolboy contract with Man United out of nowhere, just because your dad's Roy Keane or whatever. Yeah. He's not even that good. I don't understand why everyone's banging on about him. We've got three proper good keepers: Rizwan, Harris, Rahel. That's what we need to focus.
I wouldn't necessarily have him keep. I wouldn't necessarily have him keep. I'm not even. I would if there are. I just think, is he in the top 20 Pakistan players that could be in a T20 squad at this point? I'd probably have him in ahead of Asif Ali, if I'm honest. So I'm not saying he's in the first 11. I'm saying he's probably in the top 20. And to be fair, he's obviously being thought about because I think, like you say, he's been told to focus on his fitness, and then he will be kind of, more eligible to be picked.
I think what Mohammed Wasim said was that, if I'm not now mistaken, I think he mentioned about the keeper spot, and he says Sarfraz is in at the moment. But during the PSL, for example, he will be keeping an eye out on a performance of Sarfraz, the performances of Azam Khan and Rizwan, and then that's how it go forward. Well, we can't really keep an eye on Azam Khan and Sarfraz together because
you can't miss
they're in the same team. No, but they're in the same team. It's just not going to happen, is it? You can't. Only one's going to keep, and that's going to be Sarfraz. So I don't think Azam's going to. But yeah, I think it's a fine line. I think this is exactly what I was trying to say the other day, Doc. I think you explained it quite better than what I've explained it. There's a fine line on how much you want to look at fitness and how much you want to look at talent. But then there's another line where you say, how much can you ignore unfitness as well? There's got to be a benchmark for everything.
All throughout sport, in international, about football or cricket, there are players that, because of what they bring to the team, they are slightly indulged, okay? Whether it's their off-field behaviour or their fitness or their discipline or whatever, you weigh up what they're going to give you versus what they kind of take away from your team in terms of lack of discipline or fitness or whatever. And if overall there's a net gain, then I think you pick the player. If overall they're not worth the hassle, because, like, for example, how Peterson became at the end of his England career, how Roy Keane became at the end of his Man United career, where actually, you know what, you're not worth the hassle. Like, for example, Hafiz. I don't think Hafiz is worth the hassle right now of setting such a bad example to the team that he comes straight back into the team. Whereas I think someone like Azam Khan, I think his potential upside, based on what I've seen in terms of his hitting ability and his ability to play as 6 or 7, I think you're getting to the point where it's almost worth saying, look, son, your fitness is not where it should be, and you are treading on thin ice, which is never good for someone who's overweight. But you need to, you need to perform and we'll kind of consider you. So I think that's where I am with it.
There we are. We're done for the day, so I'm not going to do any more now. So we're done for the day. I've got someone coming in as well in about 5 minutes to sort something out in my house. So that's that done. So Thursday morning, I think it's 5 a.m. our time, 10 a.m. Pakistan time. We'll be back. We'll be doing a watch along. And I was watching it last night. I know, Doc, you're a big fan. I wasn't, but my son's got me back into it a little bit. I was watching the WWE and actually slept at 4 a.m.
Oh, really? So I've got it. I haven't watched it. I've avoided my spoilers all day. So as soon as this finishes,
I'm not going to say
going to go.
nothing. I'm not going to say nothing then.
Okay,
The
good
only
man.
thing I will say is that the WWE actually had a watch along going on. So yeah, we've
Oh, did they?
you know, we've inspired the WWE.
Good stuff.
So that's that. So yeah, that's us done for the day. Thank you very much, Doc, for joining.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Cheers,
Thank you, Hamza.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
And thank you, Umar. Well, okay, Umar's gone somewhere. So that's us done. Thursday morning we'll be back live with a watch along well, we won't be at Rawalpindi, but the team will be at Rawalpindi. That's us done. And as always, Pakistan.